John and the Eye Patch. End of chapter 10, chapter 11. Another bright flash. Boom! The cannon surged away from the wall. John's eyes saw spots and his ears rang from the noise of the explosion. He staggered backward. A hand caught him by the arm. John blinked several times until the spots cleared and the world came back into focus. Mr. Griffin and Anne still had their hands over their ears. "Good lad," Blackbeard's gruff voice sounded distant in the ringing. "That was awesome!" John yelled it louder than intended due to his temporary deafened ears. "It really gets the blood pumping." Blackbeard made a noise that sounded like a cross between a bad cough and a laugh. "My first time was just as grand. What ship signed you on, as green as you are?" "I'm with Dragon of Plunder, sir," John said, remembering his manners. "William is leaving the island." Any hint of mirth left Blackbeard's voice. "William? I thought his name was Blackbird," John said. "Now Blackbeard's my name," Blackbeard said. "No, not Blackbeard, Blackbird." "I already told him they sounded the same." Blackbeard cut John off. "The blackguard." Blackbeard paced along the rampart. He pulled pistols out of his holsters, inspecting them and putting them back while yelling, "I told William never to sail the black flag. Agreed he did. Now he takes a name that sounds just like mine in mockery." Blackbeard pulled several fuses from a crate. He lit them and then stuffed them into the brim of his hat so that they hung around his face and his beard like gray-black smoke around his face, making frightening clouds around his head like he was a fire-breathing dragon. Each of his exhales stirred the smoke in swirls and vortexes. "Mates!" Blackbeard called out. Several pirates gathered below the wall. They were motley dressed, some with tattered pants and shirts, most with scars covering their heads, and all carrying at least one gun or sword, or both. "We have a bilge rat to scuttle," Blackbeard yelled. "I don't think he intended." John was cut off as Anne clamped her hand over his mouth. "Best stay out of the way when he gets like this," she whispered in John's ear. "To the docks!" Blackbeard roared. The pirates echoed with a hearty "Arr!" Chapter 11. Dead Man. Gray smoke billowed from Blackbeard's lit fuse as he and his men marched towards the harbor. The awe that John felt towards Blackbeard had been replaced by a great fear. What's going to happen to Mom? Worse, it was his fault for telling Blackbeard about Blackbird. "I have to go," he told Anne. She grabbed his arm. Please, just stay." "I have to warn them," John said. He climbed through one of the square-cut holes in the wall, and he made a wild jump to the ground below. It should have been an easy landing, but the ground below was uneven, and John twisted his ankle as he fell over. Pain shot through his leg. No time for pain, John thought as he lurched to his feet and ran. Quickly closed the gap with Blackbeard's cloud of gray smoke, and he realized that he couldn't pass Blackbeard on the road. "He'll grab me, or maybe worse." So, running along the beach wouldn't work, as the soft sand would suck at John's feet and cost him valuable speed. The only option left to get to the Dragon's Plunder before Blackbeard, to warn Blackbird, was to run through the tent village. Surprised pirates scowled at him, shook fists and sabers as he ran through the different tents, and yelled a medley of things like "Scallywag" and "Biscuit Eater," and less reputable names. The sprawling market was more of a distraction up close than it was from a distance, as the smells of burning meat, stinky cheeses, and overripe fish made John kind of gag. A great white shark hung from its tail fin. Hundreds of triangular teeth gleamed at the open maw of the monster of the sea. Easily as big as a minivan, John thought. Distracted by the shark and half of his vision blocked by the eye patch, John slammed right into something that collapsed under him with dozens of screeching box and barracks. He scrambled to his feet as chickens pecked at his arms and legs. He looked around and realized he'd run right into a makeshift chicken coop. Too hard to see with his eye patch on, he grabbed it and he had it halfway up before he realized that would just send him home. He has to warn Mom. He looked around and saw that he was ahead of Blackbeard's gray smoke trail. He ignored the angry pirate whose chickens were scattered in all the directions now, and he dashed onward through the tent city. He was more careful this time to keep one of his eyes focused on the way ahead. His one eye, that is. At the end of the tents was a house with the shutters wide open and no glass through the windows. So John decided, here goes nothing. John jumped. He grabbed the lip above the window, bringing his knees high and swinging through the window just like he did on the playground. He landed on a rickety dining table. Two pirates looked up in surprise. Before they could even react, John said, "Your soup smells wonderful." like curry and spice. And then he leapt from the table and ran to the next window, where he clambered to the outside and made an all-out sprint down the town's main street to the harbor. Make way, move! John yelled as he scampered up the gangplank to the Dragon Plunder, hopping and dodging between slow-moving pirates. Young lad, plans be awry, Mr. Owens asked from the deck. Captain, John panted, running past him. Where's the captain? Mr. Owens pointed to the two doors below the quarterdeck, and John turned to the door. Lad, he can't go in there, Mr. Owens yelled and grabbed for John's shirt. John, being young and spry, easily ducked under the gray-haired pirate's lurching grasp. In a few loping steps, then, he reached the doors to the captain's quarters, opened them, and was surprised to see his mom and Blackbird looking over the navigational charts on the central desk. John, what is it? His mom asked. Lad, you've got to learn to knock, Blackbird yelled. Blackbeard's coming, John said between pants. What? Here? Blackbird rounded the desk and he walked towards John. Be cleared, lad. You mean he's coming here? He said you promised never to sail, John blurted. Never to sail? Never to sail, parroted the bird on the captain's shoulder. He remembered that? Blackbird's voice cracked. Remembered what? John's mom pulled John in and closed the door behind him. Blackbird started buttoning his coat. Just a thing I said once. Once he finished buttoning his coat, he started unbuttoning it. What thing? John's mom asked. Blackbird ignored her and grabbed John by both shoulders to look him square in the eye. Was his beard smoking? Yes. Yes, it was, John said. Blackbird let go of John and turned to pace the windows, looking out over the aft of the ship. This is really bad, Blackbird said. This is bad, the bird parroted. I don't need you telling me it's bad. I know it's bad, the captain shouted at the parrot, who flew from his shoulder and landed on the brass perch in the corner of the cabin. Bad? John's mom asked. Captain? William, what will you do? It's not really my fault. Sorry. She says, William, what did you do? It really wasn't my fault, Blackbird said. Not my fault. Shut it. No almonds for a week, the parrot squawked. William, you have to tell me what you did, John's mom insisted. It was a spring day, sort of blustery. My dad had Montezuma's revenge. Blackbird grabbed his stomach and somewhat squatted. He'd been stuck in a latrine all week, and we wanted me to go to El Ferrera. Apparently, there's some kind of voodoo shaman making remedies. It's not a hard sale, just a day trip, really. Get to the point, William, John's mom said. Well, we set from the harbor. The waters between New Providence and Eleuthera are usually placid, smooth as glass, except this time. Rogue waves out of nowhere. Turned the ship sideways. Blackbird held his hand up, tilted it to the side, and moved it horizontally across his chest. Threw us off course. Problem was, here was the Queen Anne's Revenge. He held his other arm up vertically, the arms miming the Dragon of Plunder, slamming into his other arm. Kapow! Are you telling me you T-boned the Queen Anne's Revenge? John's mom asked. No, I just hit it. I smacked it in the side. There were no beefsteaks involved. Mr. Blackbird, T-bone is a kind of collision where one thing hits another thing in the side. And you haven't worked it out with him? John's mom asked. We worked it out. I agreed not to sail again. Yet you agreed to take me to sea. Well, I was hoping he forgot. Apparently he didn't forget. Blackbird paced back to the rear windows and glanced out. He looked back over his shoulder and said, We should just start unloading supplies and tell him it was a misunderstanding. Load supplies? No, I said unload supplies. I've worked too hard for this voyage to let it slip away now, John's mom said. We can't leave if Blackbeard's holding a grudge, though. Blackbird cringed by the windows. You want to make a bet? Watch me. John's mom left the cabin, slamming the door behind her.